It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the 5 films of December 15th, 2006. We've got a couple of Oscar contenders, some big family films, some big epic fantasies that were trying to be the next Lord of the Rings and Chronicles of Narnia, and just certainly wasn't. But we have a lot of films to get to here, a lot of notable films, so let's just not waste any more time. Let's just jump on into it, and we'll start off with the biggest new release of the weekend, and that is Will Smith in The Pursuit of Happyness.
Gardner.
I need the rent.
That's all the money that I have. Just couldn't seem to catch a break.
Wait!
So for his son, he took a chance.
You gotta trust me, all right?
I trust you.
There was no salary, but there was a way to another place anyone else would give up.
Go to the hospital! You gotta go to work!
But he isn't just anyone.
Just in your class?
Yes, sir.
How many in the class?
12. There's a small town.
Will Smith, The Pursuit of Happyness, rated PG-13, opens everywhere Friday.
So this is based on a true story about a man named Chris Gardner, who's played by Smith in this movie, and he has invested heavily in a device known as a bone density scanner. He feels like he has it made selling these devices, however, they don't sell well as they are marginally better than X-ray at a much higher price. And as Gardner works to make ends meet, his wife leaves him, he loses his apartment, and he's forced to live on the streets with his son, played by Smith's real-life son, Jaden Smith. He continues to sell bone density scanners while concurrently taking on an unpaid internship as a stockbroker, with very slim chances for advancement to a paid position. Before he can receive pay, he needs to outshine the competition through 6 months of training and to sell his devices to stay afloat. And yeah, this is usually the type of movie I like to trash because it's mostly made to get Oscar nominations. And yes, Will Smith did get an Oscar nomination for this, but he's the best thing about the movie. He does show that he continues to prove that he has a lot of dramatic range as an actor. He's not just the big action star and the big blockbuster star that we've come to know him for. Like, the guy has proven time and time again how good of an actor he can really be. Ali was great. He was great as Muhammad Ali. He was great as Serena and Venus's father in King Richard, even though that controversy that happened on Oscar night should not have done anything to stop him from winning the Oscar that year. He deserved to win the Oscar that year. It's a really good performance. It's not Oscar-worthy. At least to me it isn't. It's a movie where it's trying so hard to just clamor for an Oscar, but he's good in the movie. He's very good in the film. His son is very good in the movie. There was that little brief flash of promise where you thought that, hey, this kid's got a lot of chops and he's got a future ahead of him because he would later do The Karate Kid, and then after that, they would star in After Earth, and that's when everything came crumbling down for young Jaden Smith in terms of his film career as a whole, but yeah, as far as the film itself goes, it's pretty generic. It's a pretty lackluster film overall, but the performances, I think, really do help carry the film overall. I think there is a lot there to really appreciate about the film in terms of the acting as a whole. Tandy Newton's also in the movie. She's very good. If the story had been a little bit better, this probably would have been one of the best films of the year, but as it is, it's a good movie. It's not one of the better... It's not a great film, but it definitely works because of how good the performances are, and I think if you're going to see it for those performances. Other than that, I mean, you'll still get something out of it, but just don't expect it to be like one of the year's best movies, unfortunately. So with all that said, let's move on to our next movie. Let's get to some crap now, and this definitely is a really crappy movie, and that is Eragon.
Time of dragons. Some dragon riders will come again. You're the next rider. No one alive. One false move, and everything is lost. Eragon. This film is not yet rated. December 15th.
One of the many attempts to try to create the next Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter, and just failing miserably. And, Fox said, hey, if Disney can do it with Narnia, we could do it too. And unfortunately for them, Disney had a better plan on bringing Narnia to the big screen and making it the next big fantasy franchise. Fox, not so much. The kingdom of Alagazia is ruled by the evil king Galbaltorix. It's not a good sign if I can't pronounce any of these names correctly. A former dragon rider that betrays his mates and his people in his quest for power. While the orphan farm boy Eragon finds a blue stone sent by Princess Arya, he soon realizes that it's a dragon egg. When the dragon Saphira is born, Eragon meets with his mentor Brom, played by Jeremy Irons, and Jeremy, just stay away from these franchises, dude. Dungeons and Dragons was bad enough for you, and then you gotta do this. And becomes the Dragonmire foreseen in an ancient prophecy that would set his people free from the tyrant Galbaltorix. Eragon meets the rebels Walden, and together they fight against the evil sorcerer Duza and the Arbria Galbatrix in a journey for freedom. Like I said before, if I can't even pronounce the names correctly, we are in some deep, deep trouble. Lord of the Rings had some complex names too, but at least I can pronounce names like Eragon, Arathor, son of Arathor, Eowyn. Like, I can at least pronounce those names. This is just pushing it way too far, and yeah, the movie is not good. It's just another movie that's trying to be Harry Potter and the Lord of the Rings, except Harry Potter and the Lord of the Rings had talented people behind the scenes in terms of the acting and the casting. They've got the casting in here, but unfortunately, when you hire a visual effects director making his feature film debut on this, that's not a good sign going forward. Chris Columbus and Peter Jackson at least did stuff before they took on Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings. Andrew Adamson did the Shrek movies before he did the Chronicles of Narnia. Getting Stephen Fangmeyer to do this after he had never directed a movie before this, and I don't think he's ever done anything since as a director. He's gone back to mostly visual effects work. That should be a red flag right from the get-go. And yeah, it's a really bad movie on all different counts. It's a boring movie. It's a dreary film. It's not engaging whatsoever. It's not entertaining. The visual effects are terrible. The cast is just wasted on this movie. You got Rachel Weisz playing the dragon, and that could be really, really cool. But unfortunately, they don't really give her much to do in this movie. Like, she's just doing her bringing his voice to this dragon, and then that's it. It's just like what's the point of this? Like, why am I supposed to get invested in this in any way, shape, or form? And it just isn't worth it in the end. Like, you get so bored by this movie, and it just goes on forever and ever and ever. And it's just like, this right here is a prime example of how not to make a fantasy franchise. Like, you need to get people invested in something that they want to get behind. Like, I don't know how big the fan base for Eragon was at the time, but I don't think it was even that big to begin with. And the book had only come out about 4 years ago, and it didn't have that same kind of that boom that Harry Potter did, or even something like Lord of the Rings that had been around for decades. Like, Eragon just came out 4 years before the movie came out, and people already didn't even know probably what it even was or why it even existed to begin with. Like, why was it popular to begin with? And quite frankly, I don't know anybody who ever read the Eragon books and thought, oh, this could be something on the levels of Harry Potter, Narnia, or Lord of the Rings. But, yeah, bottom line, it's not a good movie. I mean, there's brief flashes of promise here and there, but you've got to sit through a lot of garbage to really get to the good stuff. And unfortunately, there's no purpose to make this movie or just watch it in general. But, hey, I'm not the head of a major studio. I'm not Tom Rothman, who, of course, was the head of 20th Century Fox at the time. So what do I know? So, bottom line, this movie sucks. So, let's turn the tide a little bit here. Let's get to a good family adventure film that came out this weekend, which isn't really much of an adventure, except for the CG animals overall. The live-action adaptation of Charlotte's Web.
Each of us is placed on this earth for one special purpose.
I'm sorry, Fern. The pig has to go.
No, it's not fair. Can't help being born small.
What if yours was to save another?
Make lots of new friends here. Just be yourself.
Salutations, Lorber.
Who said that?
Spider!
Julia Roberts,
My name is Charlotte.
Great name.
Dakota Fanning, Steve Buscemi,
The rat rules.
John Cleese, Oprah Winfrey,
They don't call me Mother Goose for nothing.
Cedric the Entertainer,
Yes, thank you.
Kathy Bates,
Bullseye.
Reba McEntire, Robert Redford,
What the heck is he doing now? I'm next.
I'm next. I'm next. I'm next too.
Thomas Hayden Church,
All right.
and Andre Benjamin.
Let's go get him.
This Christmas, help is coming from above. Charlotte's Web.
Oh, yeah.
Rated G.
Charlotte's Web is, of course, based off the classic E.B. White book of the same name, which was previously adapted into a 1973 Hanna-Barbera animated film released by Paramount, which is a classic movie overall. I grew up with it when I was little. I used to have the tape all the time. Used to watch it on Cartoon Network and Disney Channel when it was on. So, yeah, I do have kind of a soft spot for this story in general. And so, Doing it in a live-action format, you got the director of 13 going on 30 and an all-star cast, as you see in that trailer there. This is the classic story of loyalty, trust, and sacrifice coming to life in this live-action adaptation. We have Fern, played by Dakota Fanning, who is one of 2 living beings who sees that Wilbur is a special animal as she raises him, the runt of the litter, into a terrific and radiant pig. As Wilbur moves into a new bar, he begins a second profound friendship with the most unlikely of creatures, a spider named Charlotte, voiced by Julia Roberts, in one of her few voice acting roles she ever did. And their bond inspires the animals around them to come together as a family. When the word gets out that Wilbur's days are numbered, it seems that only a miracle will save his life. A determined Charlotte, who sees miracles in the ordinary, spins words into her web in an effort to convince the father that Wilbur is some pig and worth saving. Well, technically he's a farmer, but he's also the father of Dakota Fanning's character. And yeah, the movie is very much like the original animated film, but it really isn't a bad thing. When we always get these animated movies, and then they remake them into live-action movies, 9 times out of 10, they're never any as good as the original animated movies. I mean, the Disney movies. I've defended the Disney live-action remakes as of late, but I would never ever say that any of them were better than the original film, or on that same level as the original film. I think the only one that's ever come close to being on the level of the original animated films, 2 films. Cinderella, actually 3. Cinderella, Pete's Dragon, the 2016 Pete's Dragon, and Jurassic Park. I cannot think straight right now. And The Jungle Book is what I'm trying to say. The Jon Favreau directed Jungle Book movie. Everything else, I don't hate them like everybody else does, but I get why everybody gets so mad at them for doing it. And yeah, they're mostly just watered-down versions of films that have done so much better and have more of a lasting impact to them. But not in this case here. I really love this movie, maybe even more than the original film. The animated film does, like I said, have a nostalgic feel inside of me because I see it I used to watch on Cartoon Network and Disney Channel all the time. But this really, I think, is the definitive version of the story. I mean, it just works on all these levels to bring the established reality from the book to life on the big screen. I think they did a very good job of handling that. A really good all-star voice cast in here really pushed this film into another level for me. Yeah, you got Julia Roberts, you got Steve Buscemi as Templeton the Rat, John Cleese, Cedric the Entertainer, Oprah Winfrey, Kathy Bates, Reba McEntire, Robert Redford, Thomas Hayden Church, Sam Shepard, Andre Benjamin, all these talents in this movie, and they all fit their roles very well. The live-action cast is really good, too. I like Dakota Fanning as Fern. I like Bruce Greenwood in here. I thought Beau Bridges has a really good role playing this doctor who Fern's mother goes to see when the crux of the story takes shape. I think he has a very good character put into that film, in that I don't really remember from the original story, but then again, I haven't seen the original film in a while, but I thought what Beau Bridges brought to the table was very good, like a really good, word of, like someone that the mother of Fern can talk to about the situation and how she feels about this, and he can give her a good answer to. This is a really good movie. It's a great live-action adaptation of the E.B. White book. Probably one of the most overlooked kids' movies of recent memory, in my opinion. It's a movie that I do recommend people check out who have yet to see it. It's definitely one that I think works very well. If you love the original book, if you love the animated movie, you're going to find a lot to admire about this movie on so many levels. It's a great film. Can't recommend it enough. Charlotte's Web. Speaking of great films that I can't recommend enough, on to the next movie, and that is the star-studded Dreamgirls.
Claim is overwhelming. The sensation is just beginning.
Presenting the dreams.
Oh,
I promised you I was gonna make you start writing.
you swear?
If I'm lying, I'm dying.
And now, it's the winner of 5 Golden Globe nominations, including Best Actress, Best Supporting Actress, Best Supporting Actor, Best Original Song, and the Best Picture of the Year. Dreamgirls, rated PG-13, everywhere Christmas Day.
I mean, when you have the people that made Chicago, the person that made Chicago, the script for it, Bill Condon making his directing the film. I was going to say directorial debut, but that's not it. But, I mean, you can't really go wrong with that, even though Bill Condon would later go on to make some not-so-great movies overall. But Dreamworks is a film that is based off, of course, of the 1981 Broadway musical, following the history and evolution of American R&B music during the 1960s and 70s through the eyes of a Detroit girl group known as The Dreams, played by Beyonce Knowles, Jennifer Hudson, who was then coming off of American Idol, and Annika Noni Rose, who would later go on to play Tiana in The Princess and the Frog, and their manipulative record executive, played by Jamie Foxx. Also, Eddie Murphy has a role in here as well, and a lot of good things about the movie, man. This is an incredible film. All the acting, I think, is amazing in here. You know, Beyonce Knowles, you know, of course, Jennifer Hudson is the one that everyone remembers the most from this movie. She won an Oscar for this, and it's hard not to see why she's so damn good in the film. Of course, Annika Noni Rose, of course, will later go on to have a nice career as a bigger role later on as Tiana in the Princess and the Frog movies. I really liked her in that movie. I really like her as an actress as a whole. I thought she was very underrated compared to everybody else in the film. Danny Glover's in here too. He's really good. Jamie Foxx will never put in a bad performance. Eddie Murphy, I thought was good. Now, that's probably one of the biggest known controversies about this movie, is that Eddie Murphy was seen as a shoo-in for the Best Supporting Actor Oscar, and then he made Norbit, and then all of a sudden, like, you know, he lost to Alan Arkin in Little Miss Sunshine, a role that I thought Alan Arkin should have won for. I thought he was great in there. It would have been cool if Eddie Murphy had won Best Supporting Actor, just to have an SNL actor finally, after all these years, winning an Oscar. And of course, that wouldn't happen for another 18 years until Robert Downey Jr. just did it this year with Oppenheimer. And I don't know why they were so biased against SNL people in general. I think it was just such a weird thing overall. And yeah, like, it was so weird that Robert Downey Jr. just this year was the one who finally broke through and became that first guy from SNL to win an Oscar for an acting award. Eddie Murphy, I feel like could have won here, but the thing with Eddie Murphy in here is that, like most people had already said back then, Eddie Murphy's good, but it's Eddie Murphy playing Eddie Murphy, and Eddie Murphy does play a character that's very much straight out of Saturday Night Live, and he isn't doing anything that's really outside of what we're expecting from Eddie Murphy. I think the movie that he made later on, My Name is Dolomite, is a perfect example of showing Eddie Murphy, showing his range as an actor as a whole and what he can really do. And that, I think, is one of his best performances that not a lot of people really talk about, but it's a great, great movie that should have been nominated for an Oscar. Unfortunately, it wasn't, which is a shame, but I mean, everybody in here is great. The music is fantastic. The writing is top-notch. The direction is fantastic. I mean, like I said, an incredible cast in here. A lot of good talent overall. What more do I even need to say about this film that hasn't already been said? Dreamgirls is great. It's a freaking masterpiece of a movie. One of the year's best films. I really love it. I can't recommend it enough. So with that said, let's move on to our last movie that we have here, and that is George Clooney, Cate Blanchett, and Tobey Maguire in The Good German.
Berlin, 1945. The war is over. A military journalist sent to cover the peace is about to become part of the story.
And roll the credits. Also, I love that trailer just for the fact that it opens up with them messing with the trailer card. I mean, more movies need to go in and just work with that. Like, just have fun with the trailer card. Like, mess around with it. I mean, there's no rule that says you can't mess with the trailer card. I mean, we've seen trailers that do that. Smurfs: The Lost Village did it. Hellboy 2019 did it. Not great movies overall, but then again, that should probably tell you something about maybe that is as good as the trailers are for doing that. Maybe it's because they're trying to sell whatever the bad movie is they're trying to sell. This one's not bad. It's another example of a style over substance movie. You have a movie set in Berlin following the Allied victory over the Nazis, and it begins as a murder mystery, but weaves in elements involving the American post-war employment of Nazi rocket scientists in Operation Paperclip. It was shot in black and white and designed to imitate the appearance of film noir from the 1940s, even though it had a lot of stuff that would have been prohibited by the then production code, including sex scenes and swearing. Its poster is a straight-up homage to Casablanca, which is another Warner Brothers film, as is the closing scene of the airport. You could just tell this movie was trying so hard to be like those film noirs of the back in the day, and they focused more of their time on the visual look of the film than the actual story. As I said before, it's a style of a substance movie, and it's directed by Steven Soderbergh, who very rarely misses, but when he does, it definitely is a miss, and this is definitely one of his biggest misses overall, and it's a shame because there was a lot here to admire. You know, George Clooney will usually not give a bad performance. Cate Blanchett is usually very good. Tobey Maguire shows that he's got the acting chops as a whole. there's so many things about this movie that I think really could work overall, and there's a lot that could be admired about the film, but yeah, on a visual level, it's that and more. Story level, it's a mess. It's a mess of a film. It's a very sloppy film. It was one of the biggest flops of the year, and it's kind of hard not to see why. This is a film that is really a beautiful looking film that just needed a much better story and much better characters overall to really get the full investment of the storyline here, and it's just not there, man. And I was really let down by it. I was really looking forward to it just from that trailer alone and what they were able to do with that, get me to be convinced that the movie should be seen by me. And this is the end result I get from it. A lackluster film that should have been so much better than it actually is, but unfortunately it's not. So yeah, it's a hard skip on The Good German. And so with all that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. We're almost done with 2006. We only got 2 weekends to go. And we've got Christmas weekend coming up with 5 big holiday releases, including the star-studded ensemble family adventure Night at the Museum, directed by Sean Levy and featuring Ben Stiller and Robin Williams among its cast. Sylvester Stallone returning as Rocky Balboa in Rocky Balboa, hoping to give us a better conclusion to the Rocky series than Rocky V was 16 years prior. Robert De Niro directs his second film with the ensemble mystery thriller The Good Shepherd. McGee takes on a radically different film than usual with the true life sports story with Matthew McConaughey and Matthew Fox from Lost, We Are Marshall. And also, oh my god, I just had it and then I lost it. Oh, yeah, okay, now we can see here. Clint Eastwood will give us the second film of World War II in 2006, the much better film in my opinion, Letters from Iwo Jima. So we'll take a look at all 5 of those movies. That'll be coming up on tomorrow's show. But until then, thank you so much for watching. And if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the place on the next page, check out the previous episode. And also don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and notification button so you get updates on when new videos come out. And we post videos here every day, so please hit that notification bell so you get the updates. With all that said, I am off. I will see you guys next time, and until then, as always, take care.